Murphy's Law is once again in full effect for the Indiana Fever as Sophie Cunningham is ruled out for the rest of the season. So, what does this mean? They signed a new guard. Is Caitlin Clark ever coming back? I'm so sorry to bring this video to you guys. It is not good news, but the Indiana Fever have announced that Sophie Cunningham will be out for the rest of the season. Just to give a little recap about what happened, basically the Indiana Fever were playing the Connecticut Sun and Bria Hartley. Not shocking that it was Bria Hartley. Bria Hartley is involved in many messes in the WNBA, including recently getting ejected from the Chicago Sky game for getting into it with Ariel Atkins after pushing Becca Allen to the ground. She got into it with Rickea Jackson from the Sparks. She yanked Angel Reese's hair, and I know that there's another one that I'm missing. Anyway, you get the idea. So on August 17th, in the game, Bria Hartley fell to the outside of Sophie Cunningham's leg. Sophie fell down, screamed out in pain, and she had to be helped off the court. It was quite a scary moment because she was visibly in so much pain. So the first thought is that it's an ACL, and that would be a very bad thing. Luckily, it was not a torn ACL. It was a torn MCL, which is a ligament on the inside of the knee. It very often happens when a knee is like hyperextended or like hit from the side. And so the Indiana Fever did announce today that Sophie will be out for the rest of the season, but luckily she will make a full recovery to be back for the beginning of next season. But I don't even know who is going to be on the Indiana Fever next season because the 2026 free agency is coming up and the landscape of the whole WNBA is going to look different. This is not one, not two, but three just season-ending injuries for the Indiana Fever this year, which is almost 1/3 of their roster. And there have been a lot of people that have been speaking up about expanding the roster size in the WNBA for specifically these reasons. When you have an expanded roster, you can give players a little more time to rest, and teams aren't put in the position that the Indiana Fever have been in multiple times this season with having to scramble to find a hardship player. But probably even more important than that is like the league has to get the officiating in order. And I am not saying that Bria Hartley did this intentionally. I don't think she did it intentionally, but the amount of physicality that is allowed and that has been allowed and like the baseline level of physicality this season definitely needs to be regulated. And I'm telling you, I don't even know how many times content creators like me, fans on social media, people that comment like you have to scream from the top of our lungs, from the mountaintops, until the WNBA absolutely takes this seriously and does something about it. I know that is easier said than done, but I mean, we have to look at all of the injuries, all of the season-ending injuries that have happened this year, not only on the Indiana Fever. But I digress, because in addition to announcing that Sophie Cunningham would be out for the rest of the season, they cut Kyra Lambert 5 days into her 7-day hardship contract, so they cut her early, and they signed Shey Peddy, who is a point guard who is also with the Los Angeles Sparks on a hardship contract. Now, it was kind of confusing as to why they cut one point guard for another point guard, and yesterday, once they cut Kyra Lambert, a lot of people were thinking, oh my god, they're making room on the roster. There's a certain point guard that might come back. Alas, we are all in the dark once again, because signing another point guard to the team does not exactly instill confidence that they want to bring the star point guard back. And the whiplash of what I think people are feeling has gotten to such extreme levels. And I know that a lot of you are not on social media. And if you are not on social media, do not go on social media right now, because I feel like there are Caitlin Clark withdrawals that are making people kind of like go nuts, and people are attacking each other. People are attacking anything that they can attack, actually. And the heartbreak of thinking that Caitlin Clark finally might be back on the court has sent a lot of people into a tailspin. And not to mention that Sophie Cunningham was definitely a fan favorite. She definitely has personality. And besides that, she has been shooting at 50% from the 3-point line in her last 16 games. So this is a major blow to the Indiana Fever because it looks like Sophie Cunningham had finally come into her stride herself, working back from 2 ankle injuries. And, she was kind of getting her sea legs a bit. She wasn't shooting very well for a while, which is not the Sophie Cunningham that I remember from last season. She was just kind of a sniper at the 3-point line for the Mercury. And she really did pump a lot of heart onto the court in the absence of Caitlin Clark being there. I mean, it is very rare to be able to find a 3-and-D player that can play decent defense, which Sophie Cunningham does have decent defense. She has been like the hot hand, the X factor for so many of the wins recently, and it does not look like the Indiana Fever have replaced her yet. However, Chloe Peterson, who is a reporter for Indy Star, did say the switch from Lambert to Peddy had to do with attempting to fill the void of Cunningham's veteran impact on the floor as much as possible. I mean, my guess is that in practice, Lambert just didn't look good and probably wasn't a fit for the team. So they did waive her to bring in Shey Peddy, who is 36 years old. And at the moment, the Indiana Fever are only eligible for 2 hardship contracts. They will be eligible for a 3rd hardship contract after Friday's game against the Lynx because Sophie Cunningham has to miss that game. And once she does, the hardship waiver will be activated. And according to Chloe Peterson, they are planning on signing a 3rd player. My guess is that it is going to be more of a wing, somebody who can shoot from the perimeter, a 3-and-D player. And my guess is that it could be Aerial Powers. I'm sure other people are saying this. I actually have yet to see what other people are saying, but the fact of the matter is there isn't a lot out there in the talent pool. And she is one of the only players with some size. She is 6 feet tall. And she is a forward. Now, Shey Peddy being a point guard, they are probably trying to have a backup to the 1 point guard that they have in Odyssey Sims right now. And like I mentioned before, she did play for the Los Angeles Sparks, and she averaged 5 points a game, 3 rebounds, and 2.7 assists. She was only with them from June 14th to the 29th, and she played 7 games with them. She played 7 minutes in her first game, and she did score 3 points. She played 24 minutes in her second, scoring 6. She actually played a decent amount of minutes in the rest of the games. She didn't have chemistry with the team, and the most amount of points she did drill into the basket was 7 points. Well, she had 1 game where she had 5 assists. She is not a tall person. She is 5'7", which is actually shorter than Kelsey Mitchell, who is 5'8". And it's so unfortunate that the Indiana Fever have yet another small guard, but I really don't think that there's a lot out there. Aerial Powers, on the other hand, if this is who they end up signing after Friday's game, she's 6 foot tall, so at least there's a little size there. And again, I'm completely speculating about Aerial Powers. That's just my guess as to who the Indiana Fever could sign that is a decent forward. I mean, I will say for 5'7", Shey Peddy does have a decent amount of rebounds per game. She got 6 in her last game, 4 in another game, 4 in another game. So, that's nothing to scoff at. But again, when you're getting to the second half of the season again, and everybody is making a playoff push right now, so the opposition gets tougher. There is a lot of talk about tanking the season because a lot of people just don't see Caitlin Clark coming back. I mean, I don't know if she's going to come back myself. If she does come back, it is going to be dangerously close to the playoffs. And I am on the fence about it because I only want a 100% fully healthy Caitlin Clark on the court. I do think that that's possible, though, to get a fully healthy Caitlin Clark on the court this season. The reason that I do think that it might be a good idea is because the 2026 free agency that happens next season is where every single player, pretty much almost every single player, is a free agent. And if the Indiana Fever do end the season with Caitlin Clark on the court, that girl can make things happen that are amazing. And I think that it would be a more attractive destination to the pretty much sad, lonely, injured, desolate, adversity trudging Indiana Fever that exists right now. And as far as making a playoff push, I mean, without Clark, I think getting into the postseason is looking like an uphill battle for the Indiana Fever. I mean, there are so many new faces to the team. Chloe Bibby is still new. Odyssey Sims. I'm actually assuming that Bree Turner is going to see more minutes too. And let's face it, she hasn't been on the court much with them, so she doesn't really have chemistry with the team. And you know what? The Indiana Fever have pulled off some pretty crazy things without Caitlin Clark, like winning the Commissioner's Cup against the Minnesota Lynx. And if by some miracle they do manage to stay alive for this playoff push and Caitlin Clark is able to join, those are some meaningful games that could be played. But truly, I really do think that the rosters do need to be expanded. It is something that a lot of the players, and again, Natalie Nakase spoke on it, Steph White spoke on it, and there's just a lot of injuries in like a tightly packed season like this season has been for the WNBA. I don't know what the schedule makers were thinking, because sometimes teams are playing 5 games in 8 days and sometimes they have a week off. And because expanding the teams does bring in more revenue for the owners, because basically when you have more teams, you have new merchandise to sell, you have 15 to 20,000 more tickets to sell. So this is definitely a priority for the owners of the league, and this is a priority for the WNBA itself. And the Players Association is fighting for bigger roster sizes for precisely these reasons. The only thing is that bigger rosters don't bring in an influx of revenue like new teams do. I love how the WNBA is growing. I want to see new teams. That means there's a lot of new players that can come in, but I think that there does need to be a balance between expanding the roster sizes of the current teams and the new teams, and, you know, bringing these new teams in. And for crying out loud, WNBA, you need to get the officiating together.